Yeah. Ooh, bzz, baby, what's all the buzz about? Hi, welcome to another tantalizing story time with the bee of the garden myself. Oh, I love the cover of this book. You see all the bees, all the honey bees? Bzz, baby. This is Winnie the Pooh, classic. Favorite. I love it. If you don't know who Winnie the Pooh is, he's a big, lovely golden bear with tons of friends like Christopher Robin, who comes into the forest to visit Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends. I'm going to tell you a little story of one of my favorite friends in this book, Kanga and her baby, Roo. And also, it's going to be a story with Piglet and his bath. So, you'll get lots of characters, okay? Not just a buzzing bee. Chapter, whichever one this is. Nobody seemed to know where they came from, but there they were in the forest, Kanga and baby Roo. When Pooh asked Christopher Robin, how did they come here? Christopher Robin said, in the usual way. If you know what that means, Pooh. And Pooh, who didn't, said, oh. Then he nodded his head twice and said, in the usual way. Ah. Then he went to call unto his friend Piglet to see what he thought about it. And at Piglet's house, he found Rabbit. So they all talked about it together. What I don't like about it is this, said Rabbit. Here are we, you, and Pooh, and you, Piglet, and me. And suddenly, and Eeyore, said Pooh, and Eeyore, and then suddenly, an owl, said Pooh. So now, at Rabbit's house, we have Piglet, Pooh, Eeyore, Owl, and Rabbit. And Owl. And then, all of a sudden, oh, and Eeyore, said Pooh. I was forgetting him. Here we are, said Rabbit, very slowly and carefully. All of us. And then suddenly, we wake up one morning, and what do we find? We find a strange animal among us, an animal whom we have never heard of before, an animal who carries her family around with her in her pocket. Suppose I carried my family about with me in my pocket. And how many pockets should I want? 16, said Piglet. 17, isn't it? Said Rabbit. And one more for a handkerchief. That's 18. 18 pockets in one suit? I haven't time. There was a long and thoughtful silence. And then Pooh, who had been crawling very hard for some time, said, I make it 15. What? Said Rabbit. 15. 15 what? Your family. What about them? Pooh rubbed his nose and said that he thought Rabbit had been talking about his family. Rabbit had been talking about his family. Did I? Said Pooh carelessly. Yes, you said. Never mind, Pooh, said Piglet impatiently. The question is, what are we to do about Kanga? Oh, I see, said Pooh. The best way, said Rabbit, would be this. The best way would be to steal baby Roo and hide him. And then, when Kanga says, where's my baby Roo? We say, aha. Aha, said Pooh. Precisely. Aha. Oh, of course, he went on. We would say, aha, even if we hadn't stolen Baby Roo. Pooh, said Rabbit, kindly. You haven't any brain. I know, said Pooh humbly. We say, ah, so that Kanga knows that we know where Baby Roo is, and aha means we'll tell you where your Baby Roo is, if you promise to go away for the forest and never come back. Now, don't talk while I think. Pooh went into a corner and tried saying, aha. Aha? Ah, ah. In this short voice. Sometimes it seems to him that it meant what Roo said, and, oh, hold on, reverse that, frickin'. Pooh went into a corner and tried saying, aha, ah, aha, in that sort of voice. Sometimes it seemed to him that it did mean what Rabbit said, and sometimes it seemed to him that it didn't. I suppose it just takes practice, he thought. I wonder if Kanga will have to practice too, so as to understand it. There's just one thing, said Piglet, fidgeting a bit. I was talking to Christopher Robin, and he said that Kanga was generally regarded as one of the fiercest animals. I'm not frightened of a fierce animal in an ordinary way, but it is well known that if one of the fiercest animal is deprived of its young, it becomes as fierce as two of the fiercest animals, in which case, aha, is perhaps a foolish thing to say. Piglet said, taking out a pencil and licking the end of it. You haven't any pluck? It is hard to be brave, said Piglet, sniffling slightly, when you are only a very small animal. Rabbit, who had begun to write very busily, looked up and said, it is because you are very small that you will be useful in the adventure before us. Piglet was so excited at the idea of being useful that he forgot to be frightened anymore. And when Rabbit went on to say that Kangas were only fierce during the winter months, being at other times of the affectionate disposition, okay, there we go, being at other times of an affectionate disposition, he said, he could hardly sit still. He was so eager to begin being useful at once. What about me? said Pooh sadly. I suppose I shan't be useful. Never mind, Pooh, said Piglet, confrontingly. These are some interesting, tongue-twisty, buzz-tied words, guys. Never mind, Pooh said. Piglet. See, look. Tongue-twisted. Tongue-tied and tongue-twisted. Never mind, Pooh, said Piglet, comfortingly. Another time, perhaps. Without Pooh, said Rabbit solemnly, as he sharpened his pencil, the adventure would be impossible. Oh, said Piglet, and tried not to look disappointed. But Pooh went into the corner of the room and said proudly to himself, impossible without me. That sort of bear. Now listen, all of you, said Rabbit. When he had finished writing, and Pooh and Piglet sat listening very eagerly with their mouths open, this was what Rabbit read out. Plan to capture Baby Roo. 1. General remark. Kangas run faster than any of us, even me. 2. More general remarks. Kanga never takes her eyes off of Baby Roo when he's safely buttoned up in her pocket. 3. Therefore, if we are to capture Baby Roo, We must get a long start because Kanga runs faster than any of us, even me. See number 1. 4. Although, if Roo had jumped out of Kanga's pocket and Piglet had jumped in, Kanga would know the difference because Piglet is very small. 5. Like Roo. 6. But Kanga would have to be looking the other way first, as not to see Piglet jumping in. 7. C2. More general remarks, Kanga never takes her eyes off of baby Roo. 8. Another thought. But if Pooh was talking to her very excitedly, she might look the other way for a moment. 9. And then I would run away with Roo. 10. Quickly. 11. And Kanga wouldn't discover the difference until afterwards. Well, Rabbit read this out proudly, and for a little while after he had read it, nobody said anything. And then Piglet, who had been opening and shutting his mouth without making any noise, managed to say very huskily, "And afterwards? How do you mean?" When Kanga does discover the difference, then we all say, "Aha!" All 3 of us? Yes. Oh. Why? What's the trouble, Piglet? Nothing, said Piglet. As long as we all 3 say it. As long as we all 3 say it, said Piglet. I don't mind, he said, but I shouldn't care to say, aha, by myself. It wouldn't sound nearly as well. By the way, he said, you are quite sure about what you said about the winter months? The winter months? Yes, only being fierce in the winter months. Oh, yes, that's all right. Well, Pooh? Yes, you see what I've done? You see what I have to do? No, said Pooh Bear. Not yet, he said. What do I do? Well, you just talk very hard to Kanga so she doesn't notice anything. Anything you like? You mean like telling her a little bit of poetry or something? That's it, said Rabbit. Splendid. Now come along. So they all went out to look for Kanga. Kanga and Ruth were spending a quiet afternoon in a sandy part of the forest. Baby Roo was practicing a very small jump in the sand and falling down noisily and climbing out of them. And falling down mouse holes. He was falling down mouse holes while practicing jumping. Interesting. And climbing out of them. And Kanga was fidgeting about and saying, just one more jump, dear, and then we must go home. And at that moment, who should come stomping up the hill but Pooh? Good afternoon, Kanga. Good afternoon, Pooh. Look at me jump, squeaked Roo, and fell into another mouse hole. Hi-oh, Roo, my little fellow. We were just going home, said Kanga. Good afternoon, Rabbit. Good afternoon, Piglet. Rabbit and Piglet, who had now come up from the other side of the hill, said, good afternoon, and hello, Roo. And Roo asked them to look at him jumping, so they stayed and looked. And Kanga looked too. Oh, Kanga, said Pooh after Rabbit had winked his eye at him twice. I didn't know if you were interested in poetry at all. Hardly at all, said Kanga. Oh, said Pooh. Roo, dear, just one more jump and then we must go home. There was a short silence while Roo fell down another mouse hole. Go on, said Rabbit in a loud whisper behind his paw. Talking of poetry, said Pooh, I made up a little piece as I was coming along. It went like this. Now let me see. Fancy, said Kanga. Now, Roo dear. What? You'll love it, said Piglet. You must listen very carefully, said Rabbit, so you not to miss any of it, said Piglet. Oh yes, said Kanga, but she still looked at Baby Roo. How did it go, Pooh? Said Rabbit. Pooh gave a little cough and began. On Monday, when the sun is hot, I wondered to myself a lot. Now, is it true or is it not that what is which is what? On Tuesday, when it hails and snows, the feeling on the ground grows and grows. Hardly anybody knows if those are these and if these are those. On Wednesday, when the sky is blue and I have nothing else to do, I sometimes wonder if it's true that who is what and what is who. On Thursday, when it starts to freeze and hoarfrost twinkles on the trees, who very readily one sees that these are those and those are these. On Friday, yes, it is, isn't it? Said Kanga, not waiting to hear what happened on Friday. Just one more jump, Roo, dear, and then we really must be going. Rabbit gave Pooh a hurrying up sort of nudge. Talking of poetry, said Pooh quickly. Have you even noticed that tree right over there? Where? Said Kanga. Now, Roo, right over there, said Pooh, pointing behind Kanga's back. No, said Kanga. Now jump in, Roo, dear, and we'll go home. The first picture, look, they're all together in the forest, talking to Kanga, trying to convince her to give her baby away. You ought to look at the tree right over there, said Rabbit. Shall I lift you in, Roo? And he picked up Roo in his paws. I can see a bird in it from here, said Pooh. Or is it a fish? You ought to see the bird from here, said Rabbit, unless it's a fish. It isn't a fish, it's a bird, said Piglet. So it is, said Rabbit. Is it starling or a blackbird, said Pooh. That's the whole question, said Rabbit. Is it a blackbird or is it a starling? And then, at last, Kanga did turn her head to look, and the moment that her head was turned, Rabbit said in a loud voice, "In you go, Roo!" So, if you haven't been keeping along, at this very moment, Rabbit has finally got Roo to himself and put Piglet inside of Mama Kanga's pouch. And in jumped Piglet into Kanga's pocket, and off scrambled Rabbit with Roo in his paws as fast as he could go. Why, where's Rabbit? Said Kanga, turning around again. Are you all right, Roo dear? Piglet made a squeaky Roo noise from the bottom of Kanga's pocket. Rabbit had to go away, said Pooh. I think he thought of something he had to go and see about suddenly, said Pig. Oh, suddenly. And Piglet? I think Piglet thought of something at the same time suddenly. Well, we must be getting home, said Kanga. Goodbye, Pooh. And in 3 large jumps, she was gone. Pooh looked after her as she went. I wish I could jump like that, he thought. Some can and some can't. That's just how it is. But there were moments when Piglet wished that Kanga couldn't. Often. When he had to long walk home when he had a long walk home through the forest, he had wished he were a bird, but now he thought jerkily to himself at the bottom of Kanga's pocket, "If this is flying, I shall never really take to it." And as he went up in the air and said, "Ooh!" And as he came down, he said, "Oh!" And as he was saying, "Oh, woo, 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 woo," all the way to Kanga's house. Of course, as soon as Kanga unbuttoned her pocket, she saw what had happened. Just at that moment, she thought she was frightened, and then she knew she wasn't. She felt quite sure that Christopher Robin would never let any harm happen to Roo. So she said to herself, "If they were having a joke with me, I will have to joke with them then." Oh, so Mama Kanga isn't new to playing jokes with friends. So she realizes that her baby Roo isn't in her pouch and that Piglet's there. So she comes to the realization that if they can play a joke on me, I can play a joke on them too. Of course, as soon as Kanga buttoned her pocket, boop. "Now then, Roo dear," she said as she took Piglet out of her pocket, "bedtime." "Aha!" said Piglet, as well as he could after his terrifying journey. But it wasn't a very good aha, and Kanga didn't seem to understand what it meant. "Bath first," said Kanga in a cheerful voice. "Aha!" said Piglet again, looking round anxiously for the others. But the others weren't there. Rabbit was playing with baby Roo in his house and feeling more fond of him with every minute. And Pooh, who had decided to be a Kanga, was still at the sandy place on the top of the forest practicing jumps. I am not all sure," said Kanga in a thoughtful voice, "that it wouldn't be a good idea to have a cold bath this evening. Would you like that, Roo, dear?" Piglet had never been really fond of baths. Shuddering a long, indicating shudder, and said in a brave voice that he could, "Kanga, I see the time has come to speak plainly." "Funny little Roo," said Kanga, as she got the bath water ready. "I am not Roo," said Piglet loudly. "I am Piglet." "Yes, dear, yes," said Kanga soothingly, and imitating Piglet's voice too. So clever of him, she went on, as she took out a large bar of yellow soap out of the soap board. "What will he be doing next?" "Can't you see?" shouted Piglet. "Haven't you got eyes? Look at me." "I am looking, Roo dear," said Kanga rather severely. "And you know what I told you yesterday about making faces. If you go on making faces like Piglet's, you will grow up to look like Piglet. And then think how sorry you will be. Now then, into the bath, and don't let me have to speak to you about it again." Before he knew where he was, Piglet was in the bath and Kanga was scrubbing him firmly with a large lather form. Well, guys, you know what I've learned from this chapter? If you're gonna play a prank on your friend, you've gotta be prepared for the consequences. Not everybody is gonna be as willing to fall for the joke as you. So if they happen to prank you back, be prepared for the consequences. She lost her baby Roo because her friend took them without asking as a joke. So she made Piglet take a bath and pretend to be Roo for the entire night. Did she get her son back safely the same day? You'll have to read Winnie the Pooh to find out, guys. All right, everybody. There was another fabulous book, Winnie the Pooh. Time for a little activity time. You ready? Everybody stand up. Get the blood flowing. Do a little bounce side to side. 1, 2, 1, 2. Bounce side to side. Stop. Left arm up. Stretch really big. Stop. Right arm. Stretch really big. And then move around in a circle. Do a little dance. Do a little dance. Get the blood flowing. Do your best dance. Get your going. And then, here are my puppies. My puppies are dancing too. Then, you're going to run around in a circle very carefully. Very carefully. Then you're going to go. And you're going to go. And you're going to run. And you're going to buzz around. You're going to stop. You tired? I'm tired. All right, guys. Then, what I want you to do, pick up your favorite book, read for another 30 minutes, and then tell your mom and dad your favorite parts. Have a beautiful day, and don't be afraid to read your favorite book in your favorite outfit. It's the best part of the day. Bye, guys.